You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
We've returned, like I've always say, and here we are again. Three dudes just talking shit, and today we are talking about Rogue One, which was the movie after Andor season 1 and season 2. Andor was focusing on the character Cassian Andor for 2 seasons and how he joined the rebellion. Correct, Boba?
That sounds correct.
So you think about Star Wars and it's weird because back when it first came out, it was episode 4, 5, and 6. Then years later they go 1, 2, and 3, and then after that is 7, 8, 9. And then they have all these other movies, and then now here's a prequel to the first episode in the trilogy, which is actually the 4th episode in the whole thing. So it's like a big, to me it's like a family tree. I would love to, if I can't find anything, I'm gonna try to do a graphic that shows how all these movies connect and how they all branch out. Because to me, just thinking about it right now, it's impressive, and I've always said that I've been impressed with this whole universe that George Lucas has created, and it's still going strong because of the fandom. You know, there's a lot of fans out here who like live and die with Star Wars. We got one of them here with us, and he's a huge Star Wars fan, and ever since I known him, like he said before on one of the other episodes, was, you know, he did have the
X-wing, was it?
The toys of the ships
Everything.
from the top of his
TIE fighters.
in his ceiling, from his ceiling. But yeah, this was and I haven't seen a lot of the newer Star Wars movies. I would one day. It's on my bucket list to really go through all of them again. But this one I was the most recent one I've seen because of Andor being out, and this one directly connects to Andor, and then of course it, like I said before, connects to the fourth one, which is A New Hope. Correct, Puga?
Right.
So
Yep.
I'm gonna go to Puga. Of course, has probably seen this movie 10 times. So we're gonna go with Cole, who's fresh meat as far as, and he got to see Andor, and then he got to see Rogue One in chronological order, which is how it's supposed to be, even though the movie came out way before the Andor series. So Cole, what did you think about Rogue One, the movie?
I can't front. This is the Star Wars I wanted to see. This was a lot of fun. Now, watching Andor season 1 and 2 build me up for the finale, Andor season 3, which is Rogue One, got me super hyped and got me to the point where I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. I got everything I wanted. My favorite parts, I got cameos from C-3PO and R2-D2. That got me hyped. The battles within the X-Wing versus the TIE fighters, that was so cool to actually see the Death Star destroy something like in more of a updated look compared to the 70s. 70s is just boom, that's it, it'll just blow up. But this one really showed the power of the Death Star. So cool. And of course, you got the star. Vader had to be there for only 5 minutes, and I loved it all. Knowing about Andor and everything, and also like other characters that played in the Andor series, to watch this movie, it was better. I feel like I would have not liked Rogue One if I didn't see the Andor series first. But overall, what a great movie. And to what you said, Pete, I can totally understand why George Lucas is so successful with 40 years of Star Wars, not only because of the fandom, but to just tell all these different kind of stories. Rogue One was a masterpiece.
You know, I think it's funny that you say 40 years. I think in 2 years it's going to be 50 years, right?
Yep. Yes.
Man.
And we're not there yet, but holy smokes.
It is a lot to go over, and like that, and what's funny that you brought up, you know, it's not the 70s, it's now. That's why we're getting a lot of reboots and remakes of a lot of movies and shows, because the technology now, the CGI now is light years ahead than what we grew up on.
Get it? Light years ahead?
You like that?
I do.
I didn't even try. That wasn't that. I can't take credit for that because I didn't try, but I guess I hit on a ton.
No, you definitely hit it. You hit a single, fam.
I'll take it.
Single.
I'll take it. I'm on base. So, Booba, this movie. So to me, it's a little weird because we got 2 seasons of a prequel about Cassian Andor, but this movie is not about him.
No. He's one of the antagonists of the movies, of the movie itself. I think the main person is Jen Orso when it comes to this movie, and I think we see it through her eyes. But there are a couple of things that we see through Cassian's eyes, and it's even up to the point where he stopped being kind of Luthen when he didn't shoot Galen Orso.
Yeah.
So, like, if it was the Luthen days, Galen Orso's dead.
Yeah.
But you find out that Cassian is like, am I doing the same thing that the Empire is doing? And you look at, Cassian lost Marva, Will lost his parents, and he's about to kill another parent. So there's a lot of different things in the sense where you can say, okay, I'm seeing this from Cassian's eyes as well. Again, they co-star in this movie, so I think you see it from both eyes. But, one of the things that Rogue One did kind of show us is we could have actually seen this through how Chirrut and Baze, the blind guy and his guy, I could have seen 2 seasons of them two and then get into Rogue One. So we could have gotten a lot of these people's storylines to lead into Rogue One, which is a very cool story. Now, watching it again, I'm like, damn. Maybe I want to see the story of how Chirrut and Baze got to Jeddah. And that was actually in my head, like, man, this is pretty cool now that I can see this stuff. Because we do get Saw Gerrera's background story in the Clone Wars. We get his story. So it was pretty cool to see Rogue One again because of that. You're right. While this isn't Cassian's story, it's half of his story. But I love the fact that we can see the difference between things through Cassian eyes and Andor and then Rogue One.
Well, what I meant was he is a main character in the movie, but he's not the main character. Jin is the main character. So I was like, wow, look at, and again, just going back to what I was speaking on earlier is that the fact that they branched out, they took a co-star and made 2 seasons of a series on this guy. Again, super impressed with Star Wars, always have been, and they just continue to churn out other things. So I'll ask our Star Wars expert, what's next? Do you know what's next after Andor? What's next that's supposed to be coming out?
So you have the Ahsoka series that, of course, is coming out, and that feels more like an extra season of Star Wars Rebels, the animated series. The way it felt in the first Ahsoka series. Remember, we met Ahsoka live action for the first time in Mandalorian. Of course, we're getting a Mandalorian movie that's coming out with Grogu and Mando. There's a current, right now, there's a Tales of something. I forget the name off the top of my head right now. An animation, small stories about different people within the Star Wars world as well. It's a really good time to enjoy Star Wars for the most part. Because, like I said, what's great about what Rogue One shows us, what Andor shows us, is that every character matters. And you can tell a backstory on any of these characters you'll probably get 2 good seasons out of it. But some of them fail. Acolyte failed. That was never renewed, and that tore a different type of Star Wars story as well. But yeah, it's endless because there's so many. We got a Han Solo movie. Everybody wants to see a Yoda movie. Now people want to see General Grievous's backstory. Like, how did he become so robotic and not humanoid? And think of that. You could get a Terminator type of movie with that. So there's different things and different projects that they're working on because there's so much content. I mean, we think about the movies, but we've yet to cover the books. And Marvel does a great job with the comic books for Star Wars as well. So the possibilities are endless, but the ones that are coming out right now are the ones that I mentioned.
Okay, and you know what's funny? Cole brought up the C-3PO R2-D2 cameo. Now, I saw another one. Now, in Star Wars: A New Hope, when they were at the bar to meet up with Han Solo, the two guys who didn't like Luke Skywalker bumped into Jin. Am I right?
I saw that. I caught that too, which was funny. And it was a long stare between the two.
Yes. I guess to let us know that, look, it's these guys again.
You know what's crazy? Andor looked at him and said, I don't want the smoke. Not now. No, I don't want no problems with you. But little did we know that one of the creatures, that his arm was going to be cut off by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So guys are always looking for problems.
Yeah, it's because he was ugly, right? So, So we saw somebody from Andor. He's back, and he went at the beginning, and went to what was her father's name again? What was Jin's father's name?
Galen.
He went to get. How did you feel about that scene when he went there and then, what popped off after?
Man, let me tell you. All right, I try not to nitpick, but you can't help it sometimes. But I wonder, why do they land the ship so damn far away from where they need to be? I thought that was funny. I was like, you guys took that long ass walk from the ship. I mean, I'm a comedian. Don't take me too seriously, guys. But that scene was pretty cool when I saw him, and then now, right? Like, I'm watching the badge, the ranks, and his rank only had, I think only blue, where he was supposed to have like blue and red. So I don't know. That intrigues me. I like to look at that stuff. And it started off like that, where, because I'm fresh to Star Wars, but I really want to know about this because everything about Star Wars is so damn cool. This whole other galaxy far, far away. When he said to go grab the girl, that was like, I knew that was like the beginning because the girl was going to be the show. Jin. So pardon me, guys. I only saw it once, but it's definitely worth a rewatch for sure.
I've seen it twice. So the part I'm talking about was at the beginning when he goes to, I guess, he goes to collect Galen to go. He has some work to complete. He's trying to front like, it's just me. My wife died.
Yes.
Didn't really mention the kid either. He didn't really mention the kid either, and then that's where it kind of started because.
So didn't he know? He said it. I think he said it. He goes, "Oh, and your daughter too. You guys are gonna come together."
He told the troops, "Look for a child. There's a child as well."
But yes.
He said his wife died, and then his wife comes out and pulls out on Krennic.
Liar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he said it. He said it. He goes, "Oh look, she's back from the dead."
Yeah.
It's sad though. To me, it's kind of It's traumatizing, little girl sees her dad taken away and her mother killed at the same time, and now she kind of has to fend for herself.
Yo, and Pete, you saying that, right? For me, watching this, I invest myself inside the whatever universe I'm watching. It doesn't really matter. I could be watching Squid Games, or I could be watching, Infinity War. I put myself in that situation, and I'm getting immune to that because the Empire is so dominant when it comes to this universe. So to see that right there to me was more like, yeah, I'm kind of used to this
Yeah,
already,
business as usual.
right?
Without a doubt.
And when Jin went to the first of all, when I saw the Rock, she threw me off. I would have never knew she was in there. That was great camouflage. I said you could hide in there, but she opened it and went inside the bunker. I was like, wow, this is so cool.
They were prepared for that. He knew it was coming.
And then when it opens, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm at the edge of my seat. Who is it? And when I see Saw, I'm like, yes, I saw Andor, so I know this character. And I'm like, oh shoot, okay, what's gonna happen? But then it just skips to her being locked up, which I was like, oh wow, this is cool. I liked it. I thought it was great for her father to know that the Death Star was a big danger and to create the smallest technicality that you can destroy it. And the storyline was so dope. So to set it off with that and my boy coming back, yeah, that was pretty cool.
So, Puba, what do you now? Cassian, like you said before, had an opportunity because his mission was to take out Galen.
Yep.
And he changed his mind. Why do you think he did that?
So, there's a couple of things, and we discussed it during with Andor. Is it destiny in the sense of force? And like the force kind of got into him. And I have to tell you that I flipped sides after watching Rogue One. I'm going to lean on towards your thing. I think it's conviction. He does what he needs to do, not worrying about the force. And, he's always in the right place at the right time. And he had the shot. But Galen Orso died anyway because the rebels bombed that entrance on that planet. But, I think part of it is understanding that scene is it's the whole parent thing. Like I said, Marva gone. Will's dad is gone. Luthen was kind of a father figure to him. Luthen's gone. So I think at that part in that moment, he's thinking, do I want to take out another parent? This doesn't feel like, am I becoming more Empire or more Saw Gerrera terrorist than being a rebel? Because there's a thin line between revolution and terrorists if you cross that line. So I think it's a line he just didn't want to cross. And I think, because that's pretty much 1 year or the same year that Luthen died. And I think that presence is leaving him because if this was the Luthen days, like I said, he'll take the shot, kill shot, he won't even think about it. Because it was that Luthen's voice is such a piercing voice when someone has to listen to Luthen. Look how Lonnie was shook and scared of Luthen. Claire listened to everything that Luthen had to do. Luthen had an impact, but Luthen's voice was no longer there, and I think it humanized Cassian in that moment, and that's why he didn't take the shot.
So it's funny because it's, to me, I said it when we were talking about Andor, is that Cassian was big on just getting it done. He was always in the mix, but he always came out unscathed. But it's dirty work to be with somebody and you're on the way to kill their father, who they haven't seen in years. And he had, like you said, he had the shot and he didn't take it. To me, that was dirty work right there. So there's a part when Jin is talking to Mon Mothma, right? I got it right, Papa? Redheaded chick. She got she got a different cut now. She got different gear. Shit is buff. You know, because it's
not no longer partying and dancing.
Yeah, no more of that. So it reminded me of the scene from The Last of Us, Ellie trying to plead her case to go avenge Joel. And Jin has the floor and nobody's believing her. Nobody's siding with her. Let me not say nobody's siding with her, but it's not looking good. It's very similar. So Cody, remember that part, what happened afterwards when she ended up meeting up with Cassian after?
Didn't they? Yeah, there was a big rebel cry, right? Like, I hope I'm saying the correct part is when all of a sudden K2, right? K2.
Well, yeah. Well, what happened was that's when they said, "Okay, we're gonna go with you," even though it's not everybody like we had hoped.
So you saying after that part?
After she had that meeting with
so the head senators kind of blocked her. Said, "Nah, we're not going to go and attack that anymore."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She kind of stepped out defeated, but Cassian and some of the guys like, "Yo, we got your back." If you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that part. Yeah,
and that's that's right after the scene where she says, "Rebellions are built on hope."
Yes.
Where she had the value on her back.
Definitely. So, thoughts on how when they stormed, where they had to go to get the plans?
Okay. So, my opinion about that part is more like it was cool because they had no direction, right? It was just a quick, hey, we know the plans are here. We know about the shield. We're going to just go and then open the shield. And I want to say that the droid was saying, hey, there's a probability that this might happen and it might not work out. And them on the ship on the way over there, they were like, hey, we're just going to wing it. And the way they won it, the way they did it was cool. It was just all luck and stuff like that.
Them getting into this, like them kind of like getting into the uniform of the Empire. She was like as a trooper. I don't know the names of the troopers, but she got into and it was walking with Cassian. He had changed clothes as well. That kind of reminded me of course, again, A New Hope when they got dressed as stormtroopers to go rescue Leia.
Han Solo and Luke.
Yeah. And like in the Family Guy when she said, "You look a little too fat to be a stormtrooper." It was when and she had said to Luke Skywalker, "You're a little short to be a stormtrooper," but he didn't call her out her name like they did in Family Guy. But Pooba, we get to there's a confrontation at the top between Jin and Krennic. Now, you've seen this movie a number of times, so if you could take us back to the first time you seen it, were you caught off guard because of somebody coming to the rescue?
Yeah, no, the getting there, K2SO holding down the fort was pretty dope in that scene. And, he kind of knew that he was at his end. He locks the door, makes sure. And, that part, we've got a great K2SO in Andor. And for some reason, he seems weaker here. Like, in Andor, they were shooting him, and then nothing was happening. Like, they took a truck to take him out. But regardless of what it is.
Oh, you mean weaker physically as far as what damage?
Yeah, I found it odd now. Like, when him getting shot, the first time I'm seeing Rogue One, I was like, okay, he's a robot getting shot, and the bullets are getting through. But after seeing Andor and the way they were shooting the K2SOs when they're in Gorman, I found it odd that because it took a truck to beat him. Why was it so easy now in Rogue One when they were shooting at
You're
him?
right.
I was a little off on that again. Just acting Andor.
Well, how cool was it that Lynn threw the blaster at him and said, "You want one, right?" Here you go. I love that part. That part was really dope. And then he was just shooting without even looking, just blah blah. That was cool.
Yeah, listen, it was what the funny part was back at Jeddah when she shot one of the droids. He was like, "Hey, did you know that wasn't me?"
Yeah.
and so the next scene, he has a grenade in his hand, and she thinks he's gonna throw it at her because they got beef, and he throws it behind him. And the other part to us, so again, because he dies in that scene, of course, is when he slapped Cassian. And he goes, "If you talk a good other one, I got another one right here for you." And if you look very, very closely, he's laughing because Tudyk smacked him for real and didn't see it coming, and they never edited it out. So if you go back to that scene when K2SO smacks him, you see Diego like this, and he looks up because he's dying laughing because he slapped him for real. That wasn't in the movie.
He apologized for the slap too. He was like, "I'm sorry" when he was going back to the ship. That was funny.
That was not in the movie. I love that. But yeah, K2SO guided them towards the memory that they need of the Death Star plans, and there's just high level with them climbing it, reminding me of kind of a Mission Impossible type of scene, the way they were climbing up, trying to get it, and Krennic, who had the shot, and again, I'm going to take you guys back to 2016 when this movie came out. In that scene, Jen Orso, before she sends it out, a TIE fighter comes out. In the trailer, they had a TIE fighter there come right on top of her. I'm guessing Krennic would have been inside that TIE fighter, but they cut that out. That scene never made it. It was, for Krennic, it was funny because everything that he was fighting for, like even allowing Vader to choke him because he was so ambitious, that for his death to come at his most loved item, the Death Star. And to know that Tarkin was probably the one that he didn't like either, who took, of course, credit for the Death Star. To know that it was him that said, fire when ready, and it was the Death Star that killed him, and all these secrets, everything with Dedra, the finger on the head, the belittling of people that Krennic was, to die by the thing that he created. Pretty cliche, but love it. I love it.
I was gonna bring that up. The Vader scene when between Vader and Krennic, that was a
love that part.
Yeah, it's a cool scene to see Vader. Of course, I correct me if I'm wrong. He's probably the most popular character in Star Wars.
Yeah, no, probably one of the. I think he's rated #1 villain on cinematic ever.
Wow.
Vader is the most cinematic #1. Like if he's a villain in a movie, Vader's #1.
Let's check. We'll fact check that to see if, and not doubting you, but let's confirm that because it sounds legit. I mean, it's not like you said somebody like freaking,
But let me give you some backstory on that scene with Vader and Krennic. The reason why he called Krennic in is because Krennic shot down on Jeddah. Jeddah, if you don't know, is short for Jedi. That particular planet held very strong with the Force. And when something bad happens to the Force, it affects both the dark side as well as the light. He was not happy that he used Jeddah as kind of like
the test run.
Yep. Test run. He was not happy about that shit. That's why he actually called Quinn, like, yo, why are you just using this shit randomly on a planet? And of all planets, this type of planet, because I felt that. I didn't even have to know it. So just kind of give an example of how Vader, which, Mustafar, which is that planet, is the same planet that Obi-Wan cut him down.
So Krennic was like, do I still got my job?
Well, it's good that we have Puba on our roster, so we can go to him with. We want to take a deeper dive into Star Wars lore. Yeah. We got him right here. We got this is an asset to us because, as we said before, Cole and I aren't as versed in Star Wars as Puma is,
and Pete, it's hard to like catch up to 40 plus years of all this. But little by little, we're just chopping away and getting more and more into this. So this is pretty cool.
So yeah, no, listen, guys, and to listen, Andor and Rogue One isn't something that the Star Wars fans weren't asking for. Like all this stuff that we just went through with Andor and Rogue One, people want what we talked about. They want that Yoda movie. They want maybe a backstory on Chewbacca, like those main characters. So between Andor and Rogue One, we got a whole bunch of new characters that are not the glitz and glamour of lightsabers and high-end Force users. So to make something like this and then make it more grounded in a sense, and then like Cole said, Rogue One is the Star Wars that he was looking for in Andor, I believe. And Cole, I hope I'm not quoting you incorrectly.
No, you're right.
It's such a great movie. That I think, again, like I said, if they would have called Chirrut and Baze a series, I could see just someone else coming into the story and the backstory. But man, no, I agree with you guys. Everything that you guys are saying is on point.
But I'll tell you this, Pooba. I'm sorry, Pete. I would say this. I'd rather see the backstory first and then jump into the movie. That way, I enjoyed it much more like that. That's just me personally.
Gonna have to talk to Mr. Lucas about that.
No, absolutely not. Let him continue bringing it out the way it is. I'm gonna pace myself, and I would like to watch it like that. Like there's Rebels out there. There's Attack of the Drones that I would like to check out, and the universe is really big. But little by little, I want to chop into it. My bad, Pete.
No, it's all good. Booba, do you think if they went and did another series off of characters from this movie, do you think that's going to the well too much?
No, because again, you're talking about a blind guy, which me and my son used to call him Magic Stick Man, because it's impossible to do the things that he was doing with a stick, and the fact that he was blind. So
it's not impossible. No. Remember, I'm with the Force. The Force is with me. I'm with the Force. The Force is with me. I'm with the Force. The Force is with me. It's not impossible.
So you have Magic Stick Man, Chirrut, and Baze. That's the only story I think that I could see one season of it up to the point, because it's kind of cool to see what like the people of what they're called the Temple of the Wolves. I forget the name of it, but to see those type of guys who are protecting this temple. Like Jeddah, what's happening in Jeddah is the same thing that was happening in Gorman. They were mining the kyber crystals from the planet to again do the same thing that they're doing to promote the Death Star. But that's out of that, that's the only two I'd want to see. How did they meet up as friends? What was his job like when the Jedi Temple was up and running? I want to see that. Kind of cool to see how he uses that gun, because something that his gun wasn't the best one in the movie, right? So how does he acquire that gun? How does he get to use it? Because I've never seen anything in Star Wars like that. His gear was dope as well. I don't care for Bodhi, because that's just the guy that worked for the Empire.
I don't think that would have been a good series.
That one wouldn't work. And we saw the K2SO, so it'd be tough. I do want to see him in his Imperial March that he was bragging about with Andor. But no, the only one I could see is the Chirrut and Baze. That would be a very cool one to see, because Baze rocks out, and you're getting martial arts in Star Wars as well. So, and that's Ip Man, by the way. I'm not sure if you've ever seen any of the Ip Man movies.
Yeah,
that's him.
K2SO seemed funnier in this one to me. And what
you got free reigns. Tudyk got free reigns.
And what you had said before, as far as he went down kind of easy as opposed to Andor. I had mentioned that when we were talking about Andor, like they shot him a couple times and nothing happened, and then the truck took him out. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Of course, you go through these movies with a fine tooth comb and I definitely don't do that because I too busy trying to take everything in. But Cole, now this was I think we all agree that this movie was what we wanted, what we kind of expected when watching Star Wars, especially you and I, being that we don't have the history with the subject matter that Puba has. But as far as even though this is a great movie, great characters, the best scene in the movie was at the end. Vader comes through. Again, someone who's not you're not completely new to Star Wars because of course you know who you saw 2 seasons of Andor, you've seen The Mandalorian, so you're not completely new.
Boba Fett as well.
And Boba Fett. So you've seen Star Wars, and I know you said you saw them all before at one point. You went through all of them. How did you feel seeing Vader come through and just
I'm gonna keep it real. That whole scene was one of my favorite scenes. I was starstruck. I had fear. It was the presence, hearing the voice, the exchange between him and Krillic, seeing them, seeing more of a backstory in Andor with him, and then him, actually making it all the way up to the leader of the Empire. I thought that was so cool. Just his presence alone, man. I can't front. Darth Vader is by far, if he's not one, he's definitely top 5 of the best villains of all time.
I was gonna say top 3, but yeah, he's up there. He's up there.
That means he made the top 5 for me.
Yeah.
So when I saw Krillic going with the Force,
and he wasn't even looking at him.
Yo, let me tell you, when he turned though, I like the way his hands were positioned. It looked really dope. I'm telling you, I was so starstruck. And that's all I needed, right? I didn't need him to be in 3/4 of the movie, half the movie. Just that one presence alone gave me everything I needed. So that exchange between them two, and like I said prior, I thought it was hilarious when he goes, "But I'm still in charge," right? I love that part because Vader didn't even answer. He was like, "Figure it out, but don't get it messed up."
I don't think if there's too much of Vader, we kind of lose sight of the rest of the movie because that's how big it's how big a character he is. Of course, I think he takes away from the rest of the movie if he's in it too much. I think there was a perfect amount of him in this movie. Who were you gonna say something?
No, I will say that is the probably best Vader scene and best ending of any Star Wars movie.
You could see the fear in these guys. These guys pulled it off good. The troops that were there, they were shitting their pants. They pulled it off pretty. They pulled it off well.
When you shoot something and it just bounces off of them, and it's the way he held the guy up and just went backwards with the lightsaber.
See, you guys are talking about at the very end.
Yes.
He's like coming up.
Yeah.
See, I was talking about that scene, but I would like to chime in on that because just him, the doors opening, like you guys said, the fear in all the troopers' faces for the rebellion, but the way he was brought in was like going to a concert. The door open, you see the shadow, and
wrestler.
or a wrestler, yeah, absolutely. And the lightsaber, the sound and everything once it comes out, like he's in the shadows. His color is dope. Him having a cape is dope. Everything about this guy is so dope. And then to see him in action, like Poopa was saying, phenomenal.
Yeah, I hope they do a Vader movie and just show like some of the things that he had to do to keep the Empire intact. And you just give me that. Give me like 100 of these guys against one Vader, and just film. Just film that. Like I could do that all day. And it's so dominant, but it's so glorious at the same time.
So off topic.
Just to see his power.
Off topic, but not really off topic. We're talking about. I have a question to you about Vader. So I don't know if you guys know, Fortnite was allowed to use AI to use James Earl Jones's voice on Darth Vader character in the Fortnite game. Do you agree with that? Are you okay with that? His family gave the okay.
If his family gave the okay, like again, legacy matters, and that means that kids that are way younger than us, because I don't play Fortnite. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't play Fortnite. But to know that Vader's voice carries and his legacy of that of James Earl Jones being the voice of Vader carries for these younger kids who someday will watch this stuff and be like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Because again, Family Guy told the story that way. Like he said, this very cool story. And I think for so many kids growing up, to hear James Earl Jones and not someone else, not a voice edit or something else, as Vader, it does it justice.
I don't think Vader can't sound like anything else. Like when you asked that question to Puba, in my mind, I was like, would I be okay to hear like Optimus Prime sound different? Or, there are these certain voices that just fit that character. And I think Vader has to always sound like James Earl. But so props to his family for giving them the okay.
Yeah, even though the Screen Actors Guild, which is the union for the actors, from what I'm understanding, it seems like they have an issue with it, and I don't understand why, because it's his family who made the call. You know what I mean? And I would think they would have say over that. They would have, there would be a control of making those decisions.
It's the same thing with Tarkin. When Tarkin they showed that was all CGI because
and Leia as well.
Yeah, and they got permissions from their family to do that. So
that's beautiful, because to see Leia at the end was dope too. I mean, oh my gosh, this movie was the Star Wars movie I wanted to see. I had a lot of fun. Yeah,
it was good. So, final thoughts on the flick, Cole.
Man, overall, it was phenomenal. All the characters was great. From the scene with the blind guy. Pardon me if I forgot his character's name. But when he stepped out and was just walking, I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it." And he had to pull the switch. Everything about this movie was just. It was not a drag. It was just a lot of fun. You had a little bit of the political side of it, but then most of all, you had the importance of getting the plans for the Death Star and the story behind how we defeated the Death Star. I thought it was just absolutely spot on. Visually, it looked great. Everything about it was great. All the Easter eggs and cameos was just wonderful for me. Fight scenes. I mean, I really like to see those TIE fighters and the X-Wings go at it. When they pull up from hyperspace and they just right, all of them are there, and then all of a sudden they're having help, and how they, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, how are they going to send the signal out? And the way they did it was pushing the other ships and then crashing the ship into the. I was like, man, this is phenomenal. And then to finally just escape. Now I understand why I didn't get that marriage. And it's crazy because I'm watching Andor go out with a bang, pun intended, and knowing, wow, you got a kid out there. And probably anyone that saw this movie didn't know that until we got to see Andor, which is bugged out. But all in all, just phenomenal movie. Phenomenal. I could see why Star Wars fans love this so much. And yeah, man, I'm hoping for more.
Uba, last thoughts on the flick?
I think Andor what could have been a tough watch, and it was sometimes a tough watch at the beginning of some of those episodes, especially in season 1. Uh, Getting that season 2, getting the Rogue One movie justifies that we got an Andor series. I think it's very cool to see an espionage movie without the glitz and the glamours of lightsabers. And I think it's cool to see that there's regular people, grounded people that can actually make a difference without using the force. And I think that, it speaks to a lot of us today and things that we can do better. We can be more outspoken when we see wrong things. I think Rogue One, the one thing that I got out of Rogue One now more than anything else was sacrifice. The sacrifice that it took for Andor just to be there at that moment. And I'll end it with this. He escaped from the prison because he said the Empire's so big, no one's watching. No one is listening. No one cares. You're so worried about them, but there's so many of us and so little of them, and they're so big-headed that they're not listening. There's no watching. And at the end of Rogue One, he's asking Jin, do you think they're listening? Like, finally, is someone paying attention? And to come full circle now, where I didn't see it the first time I watched Rogue One, and the multiple times I watched Rogue One, I never got it that it's the communication piece of was it worth it, right? The Bix conversation, the Luthen conversation, was it all worth it? And for him to say, do you think they're listening? At the end of that, all this work, all the sacrifice, everything that he had to do, are they listening? And they got the plans for Death Star. So I love that they did this, and I hope that they never stop finding the intricate emotional things in Star Wars to try to make a movie out of it.
So
I do want to say something, Pete. I would say this: after Rogue One, I saw Star Wars: A New Hope. Right after it, just to follow it through and watching the whole thing. Because remember when Krillic went out, obviously he was unalive because he was on the planet, and I saw that other again, pardon me if I don't know the characters' names, but the one that was piloting the Death Star, that he ended up taking control because he was the one that shot the planet down, and then now he takes it. So now when I go back to 1977 and I'm seeing that character there, like, it feels like a puzzle coming together for me, and I thought that was dope. So yes, I ended up watching Star Wars as well, New Hope, and it was fun.
And real quick, in that scene when they're trying to open up that thing, of course, to stop the control over the planet, Red 5 gets shot down, and that title is given to Luke when they go against the Death Star. He's Red 5. So just another thing that happened on Rogue One when Red 5 died. That's the call sign they give to Luke because it was over.
So it does seem that this movie, and I know that with streaming services coming out, Disney Plus, they got to put out content. They have to put out shows. But Puba said the Acolyte didn't work out. But they have to do these things to kind of keep it going. And I get that because it's such a popular franchise. They have to do what they have to do. The more shows, people are going to subscribe. And Disney now has possession of this, so they're going to continue to put out these movies. So then they can, of course, say, okay, let's take this character and make a show and put it on Disney Plus. So and this one didn't feel forced. This one was a good movie. Again, I watched it twice. You see Easter eggs. You see the people that carried over from the Andor series to the movie, even though the movie came out, like you said, Puba, in 2016.
Yeah.
Great way to put it all together. Like we said, this is Andor season 3. So thanks for watching Cole and I get our feet wet to watch Star Wars and get a little bit more involved in this franchise that's massive. And like I said earlier, we're going on 50 years of Star Wars, and thank you, Puba, for kind of being the professor of Star Wars lore and kind of educating us and showing us the different the Easter eggs and all these little side bars that we wouldn't normally see and understand. But guys, everybody please do us a favor, if you could subscribe, like, and share for Pooba, for Ko. May the force be with you. We will return.
The worst episode ever.